Okay, I'm back in between the greenhouse and the fence. This is my no-fuss garden. So I went back to plastic. I really like the way plastic worked last time. And I've got about 200 pots here set up. And we're starting our next grow. Let me show you how I'm using the rice husk and biochar. That wheelbarrow made 15 gallons, 35-gallon buckets worth. In these pots, containers, I filled it with just the rice husk, and I've been letting the rain hit it regularly, and I've been adding a little bit of nitrogen to it at the same time. Now these are aged, the nitrogen's not going to get tied up in it, and if it does, it's going to be very little because of how long they've aged. So yeah, it's a rainy day, so yeah, they're a little moist, and that's a good thing for me. So I've taken these, and these have been sitting out here for a week or two, and I'm taking in 2 buckets at a time. And here are 2 of the containers that I brought in, and I dumped them in here, and then I put about half of a container of sphagnum peat moss. You can see the bag there. And I took one of these containers of biochar, I put it in here, and now we're going to inoculate it with some mycorrhizae and beneficial bacteria through this product here, Great White. I've used it before, and my opinion is that it can't hurt. So the biochar is one thing. I'm not sure how that's going to play out. This didn't seem to help at all when I've tried it before, but we're doing it, and we're going to add the food source of the various, the rice husk has some bioactivity with it, as well as the peat, and we're going to see if it'll populate the plant roots and do some magic in the containers. Not sure if it's going to, but we're going to give it a shot anyway. Alright, we got a lot of rain last night, all night and most of the morning, and but I did manage to finish up the watering system. And this is the reservoir that's going to feed the no-fuss garden out there, and it has a float valve. It's actually filling from the buckets or the storage containers above me up here. It's actually filling, and I've got that pump, as you see there, providing air to it. So every time it waters, it's going to gravity feed fresh water back in here. I've also got lines coming from my master blend tank, one here. It's got a valve on it so I can meter it the way I want to meter it. That one's from master blend and Epsom salt, and this one's from calcium nitrate. Those are the super concentrated barrels that you may have seen in previous videos. And what I'm doing here is I'm letting them cycle for a couple days to see how far up the container it goes, and that way I can adjust these valves to where it puts the same amount in. And the longer days I go, the more accurate it's going to be when I adjust the valves. So that's what I'm doing with this. It's going to, on a timer, it's going to inject a little bit of nutrient from calcium nitrate and a little bit of nutrient from master blend and Epsom salt into here. The air bubbles are going to mix it, and it's going to gravity feed extra water from what's lost when it feeds a cycle out here. So I've got a Y valve like I always do here. It's coming from the pump. It's a 390, well, is it 396 or 1,000 gallon? I think this one's a 1,000 gallon pump per hour. But I've got a Y valve going here, and if I turn this completely on, that will allow a lot of it to come back into the reservoir here. The more I cut it off, the more pressure it's going to be sent outside. So I can adjust how much flows outside, and that will then adjust how much each container gets. And I want to do it to where the containers get enough nutrient, but it doesn't flow out onto the ground. So that's the plan there. So I've got this pipe going out. You'll see the T there. This is a backflow preventer. That way at the lowest point, way over there, I can water it from house water and it won't come back into the reservoir because of the backflow preventer right there. Now when this isn't in use, I put that cover back on it and I put the slats back on it like this, and that way I can use it as a shelf. And if you've followed me for any length of time, you'll see where I've done this, shown this before, and it makes it a useful shelf. Alright, we're out here at the valve, and if this is on, it's off now because of the reservoir pump. I don't want it pumping out here, and this is just a cap to keep bugs out. But if I open this up, I can plug a hose into here and it'll do everything I need, watering I need to do. And a lot of times when it's really hot, I can use house water as a way of cooling down the containers. So this is the lowest point right here, and I put a end cap on it and a top hat grommet with tubing. I use this everywhere in my systems, and you may have seen these before, but these are kind of like sprinklers in a way. But the more you tighten it down, the more it closes off, and the more you open it, of course, the more that can come out. So that will need to be adjusted after I turn the water on. So we'll do that later. But for now, it's in place. Alright, when we look at this setup, you can see that there's a high area and a low area. And when the nutrient pours out from the reservoir there, water follows the path of least resistance. It is going to absolutely go directly to the lowest place first. Gravity is going to help it get there. And if we keep it just like this and it goes to water straight down, what could happen is this plant, for example, it's pretty low. It could sit there and get watered for literally a minute or two or longer and actually just get flooded with water, while one at the high end down there on the other side gets nothing at all until the whole system is pressurized enough. Plus, it's not flowing out, it's not being kept back pressure by emitters. I'm just going to do a regular flow out. So what we need to do is we need to prevent this type of situation from happening. Let me show you how I'm going to do that now. This right here is more or less the low area, even though this over here is, I made it the lower area. This is like the lowest area, and back over there are the high areas. So we need to make sure that all of this PVC pipe is completely flooded, and then they start watering each pot at right about the same time. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it to be about the same time so that each pot gets consistent watering. And this is what we're going to use to make that happen. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to drill spots for the exit of water throughout the system, and I'll show you that. I'm using this 3/8" drill bit, and I'm drilling a hole in here to prepare it for the top hat grommet, and I'm going to do that at every cage. If you look closely, in the center of each cage is a little black top hat grommet, and they're in place all the way throughout the system. Next, I'm going to set up my water level. You may have seen this in another video I've got, and I'll put it at the end of this video, link to it. This is where I made my, I can't remember what I put here, super fantastic Brent water level or something anyway. Trying to be cute. But yeah, I'm going to take, let me see if I can open this here. This, which I did add food color. Originally I had put Kool-Aid, unsweetened Kool-Aid in there as a dye, but I've since rinsed that and added food coloring to it. But yeah, there's a big length of hose here, and we're going to water level it. We're going to find the lowest and highest spot. We're going to attach it to the ruler here, and we're going to set up the 1/4 inch tubing where it is all at the same height coming out of these grommets. So the lower areas are going to have a higher rise, and the higher areas are going to have a lower rise, so that the rise is equal all the way around. That way, when water is circling round and round and round through this PVC here, all 4 lines, it's going to fill this completely on all 4 lines before it tries to go against gravity. The pressure inside this is going to push it up, and these are all going to be at the same height before they start dumping over and watering each individual pot. So that's the plan. Alright, I stacked 3 buckets up here and put the water level on top of it, so it'll be easier to see this without stooping over, bending over to look at it. And you can see here that this level here is going to be exactly the same as this water level in here, because water always finds level. So that's how we're going to use it. And you can see that there's a lot of line here, so I can stretch this all across the No Fuss garden here, plastic. Now with this setting on the ground, come down here for a little bit, you can see that this, we're going to go by the right side. This is at 14 3/4 of an inch. Now if I go to another spot, just go up here, wait for the water level to catch up, you can see that it's now nearly 17 3/4, and that means that this is 2 inches higher than where we first started, and that's how you can tell where it's at. And it doesn't matter where you put, as long as you put, and it doesn't matter where you put this, it's going to find the level, and you can tell how much, what's the difference in measurement from each location. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to find the highest and lowest points, and then once I find that, then I can set the water lines, the 1/4 inch tubing. Alright, I've got the 1/4 inch coming out of the top hat. It's come down, it tees here, and then I have a line coming over to 3 buckets. So each line is going to feed 3 buckets, or 4 actually. The one that's coming out of the pipe, PVC pipe, this one, and 3 others. And they're attached with tees here. So that's my plan. Now how I'm going to get it the correct level is I'm going to take a measurement here. I'm going to put my thumb right here and where the line is, and I'm going to lift the ruler up and put it on the base of my thumb here. And whatever the inches is, measured from the bottom there to the top part right here, is going to be what I make everything. So I measured it from here where the water level is, and from there to the top of the water line there is 15.5 inches. Now all I have to do is every bucket I go to, I put my thumb wherever this is. If it's here, then I'll put my thumb here. If it's down here, then I'll put my thumb down here, and then I'll go up 15.5 inches, because this is the highest spot, and that's the water line. And so what'll end up happening when I do that is this will fill up completely, and then all of them will start, the water pump will, all of them will start rising at the same time because of gravity, and then they'll all feed at the same time. Now everything is set up and the watering can begin. Behind the air pump that goes to the reservoir, which I just had turned on, you can see a timer there, and that comes on twice a day, and it pumps the nutrient from this tank out there past the little backstop valve and all the way out to the whole thing. See it running out of the little T there. Next thing we need to do is we need to set up some sort of trellis or method where tomatoes won't fall over because they're a binding crop. So I'm going to show you what I'm going to do there. So we finished our drip and it runs great. Every plant, every container is getting some nutrient. And if I want to hook it up to the hose, I can hook it up to the hose. It can get just house water for regular watering. Also, as we've got the tomato twine wrapped all the way down and around. It's just looped, and it's got the width, as you can see here, of the tomato cage for these plants to grow up. Now I'm not going to sucker these at all. I'm just going to let them grow and see what happens. I can tighten this a little bit. We got some rain going on, a little bit of sprinkling going on. Anyway, so I did I guess you'd call it it's not a trellis, but a support system for the tomatoes on these 3 rows, and then on this wall I tied it down to the individual containers, and I used tomato clips growing up, and I'm not going to sucker those as well. But that'll be enough for this video. We'll go ahead and end this video. I'll show you some of the plants and what they look like right now. Looking really good. This is my main grow area. In the greenhouse, I'm using it as a nursery area for the next line of tomatoes. But you can see the tomatoes are looking really healthy. They're taken to the containers. And then what I call now no fuss garden. Used to be no weed garden. And I don't no longer say weed because I don't want YouTube to censor me. Thinking I'm talking about pot. Anyway, this is Brent, you guys. Taking a look at some of the tomatoes. The no fuss garden. We will see you later. Well, that wraps up this video. If you guys enjoyed the video, please comment, like, and subscribe. In order to subscribe, all you got to do is click the button here. We'll put a check mark next to it. If you want to get notification the next time I make a video, click on the bell here. Check here and hit save. You guys take care.